In chapter 4, we will be focusing on a category of environmental problems, and we will call them the open access problem. All right. Now, to motivate that discussion, let's begin with the problem with plastic. So the plastic is particularly plastic in the Pacific Ocean. It is a topic that most of you are very concerned with and interested in. Now, if you ask most environmentalists over the past 20 some years, how do we define the problem? We define the problem as plastic lasts for hundreds of years, thus it harms the ecosystem, right? That's the mainstream approach or analysis of the problem. And what's our solution? Our solution is to reduce plastic usage. Of course, there are other solutions, but I'm talking about the primary, where we devoting most of our resources, right? And over the past 20 years, we have spent billions of dollars developing plastic substitutes and recycling projects. Now, the question is, has it worked? And I think the data is in, and if you look at the condition of this Pacific garbage patch, it's just been getting larger and larger every year. So regardless of why you think it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Right? The solution, the money that we're spending, we are simply not getting the results. Okay, all right. So let's see if we can reframe the problem. Right? Let's see if maybe this is not the only way, or maybe even the right way to view this plastic problem. Okay, now so here I included video here. You can watch it. You can find the link. On the PowerPoint slides, but basically the video just shows you is a new segment on the condition of the trash in a certain part of LA, right? But for those of us living in the Bay Area, right, it doesn't. We observe these kind of trash public dump sites everywhere, right? And what's our solution? Our solution is not to reduce, couches, right? Because a lot of these are couches. Right? That's not our solution. Our solution is to clean it up. So I want to reframe the problem and think about it in two ways. One, why is this happening? Right? Why are people able to dump trash in the public area under the freeway and in the ocean? And second, what can we do about it? Okay. So first of all, let's think about what is the goods and service. Right? Let's reframe the problem here. Right? Something is being consumed here. There's a service being consumed here. Okay. And what's being consumed here is waste management. Okay. People who dump in oceans and people who dump in public areas, they're consuming a service. That's waste management. Why do I phrase it like that? Well, because waste management is the service that costs money. So here's for the city of Richmond. Here's a basic rates that for a commercial garbage bin. Right, they're very expensive. Right? Now, price increases as more waste is collected. Why? Because one, it costs more to process more waste, but two, the higher the cost provides incentive for individual to reduce waste. Right? And so when people can consume something for free, we know that by the law of demand, when something is cheap or free, people overconsume, right? People consume more of it. And so if people are allowed to dump waste, right, in this area without paying for it, right? So this is the alternative. They can either take it to the dump, right, take it to the proper dump and pay $40 or $60, right, to throw garbage away, or they can dump it in the ocean, dump it here by the side of the freeway, right, and the price and the cost will be zero. They would choose the cheaper cost. This is the law of demand. This is what's inevitably what's going to happen. Right? And so here's a consumption. So now we're reframing the problem as a consumption problem, and this consumption here affects other people. Right? Okay, so is this open access, meaning there's hard to exclude people, and also the consumption aspect we want to focus on? There are two properties of any good that we want to talk about. One property of a goods or service is excludability, the property of a good whereby a person can be prevented from using it. Okay, now public goods and common resource, and we're going to be more specific about what they are in a moment, but public goods and common resources are mostly not excludable. Okay, so these are the open access problems that we will focus on. Okay? And the second property of goods and services is the rivalry aspect of it, right? It's the property of a good where a person's one person's use diminish the other person's use. Okay, let's put both of these properties into a matrix here. Right, column yes and no, column yes or no here, and then if we put it like this, right, but into four main categories, then every goods and services, right, that exists in our society can be categorized in one of these four. If something is executable and is also rivalrous, we call those private goods. Most consumer goods that you buy in the market is private goods, right? For example, your cell phone is a private good. Why is it a private good? Well, because one, it is relatively easy to prevent people from just taking cell phones from the store, right? Sure, some people do manage to steal it, right? But overall, if you want a cell phone, you have to buy it. So it's very easy to exclude people from it. Second is the rivalrous. Yes, right? If I have my cell phone, right, then if I'm using my cell phone, then you cannot use the same cell phone. Right? It is rivalrous. Okay? So if you want to use a cell phone, you either have to wait for them done, or you have to buy yourself. You buy one yourself. So that is what rivalrous means. If something is executable but non-rivalrous, right? So non-rivalrous consumption, we call them club goods. So one of the best example is Netflix. And Netflix is excludable because you need a username and password, right, to pay and to get access to it. But once you have access to it, right, if you want to watch a movie, right, it doesn't diminish or take away somebody else's ability to watch the movie. Now, of course, you can talk about capacity issues. What if everybody is streaming? What if all 100 million people is streaming the same movie at the same time? Maybe then we'll run into some issues. But overall, we're gonna say, right, there is no rivalry. Right, me watching a movie 100 times is not going to diminish somebody else's quality, right? Okay, now these goods usually, so things that are excludable usually are market goods, and we don't have much market failures with these simply because it is excludable, so the private market will supply them. The problem comes when you have issues with when it becomes non-excludable. So the two things non-exclutables are common resource, which is non-excludable but rivalrous, versus public good, which is non-excludable but not rivalrous. Okay, and so now let's break it down, these two in detail. Okay, so the only difference between a public good and a common resource is the fact that one is non-rival and the one is rivalrous. Okay, now what are some examples of public goods? Okay, so for example, a radio station. Right, now this is often confusing. It's the definition of public good is the most confusing one, and I think the reason is because in general society we use the word public good in a very different manner. Right, so the meaning of the word public good for most people it means very different things. However, unfortunately, we need these definitions. We need the distinction between these two different things. So we have to redefine here, right, in the context of environmental economics, what a public good is. Okay, so a radio station is a public good, not because it's funded by the public. Okay, that has absolutely nothing to do with it. Okay? If a radio station is private, like your local rock radio station, that's also a public good. Now, why? It's because once you have a local radio station, right, or just any radio station, then anybody with a radio, right, can access to it. There's nothing you can do about it. And second, if I turn on my radio and listen to my local rock station, right, then it doesn't diminish the quality for anybody else. Right? So that is non-rivalrous. Okay, so that is what makes it a public good. Right? National defense is a public good. Right? Once you have a national defense, then everybody in the border is protected. Right? No matter how many people in the border, everybody's protected. You cannot exclude people from that protection. Okay. right? Open source information, a rainforest. Now, rainforest, there's some, and some aren't as clear cut, of course, but rainforest, if we're considering what the rainforest offers, for example, rainforest offers a pretty sight, right? You can go hiking and offer a lot of services, then we will consider those public good, right? Because again, the only thing that defines what public good is considered definition. You can't stop people from going in, and it is non-rivalrous. Okay. Now, what about common resource? So, common resource, right? Things like, for example, food bank. Okay. So, food bank, public food bank is not a public good. I know that sounds kind of sounds like a paradox, but it is not a public good. Why? Because food banks is rivalrous. We have to consider this a common resource. Okay. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't provide it, right? But it just means that based on this definition, it's a common resource. Why is food bank a common resource? Well, because if I go to the food bank and take a can of tuna, then that's one less can of tuna for somebody else. Okay? Public housing is not public good. Again, because if I'm staying at a public housing unit, that means somebody else cannot stay in that public housing unit. Now, the rainforest, right? Now, is the rainforest a public good or common resource? Well, if I go to the rainforest and I start chopping down trees for my own use, then it becomes a common resource because I am consuming, right? So for every tree that I chop down, I am taking something away that somebody else can use. Okay. Oh. All right, okay, so one more example, right? Healthcare or education. Is this a public good or is it a common resource? Okay, so think about it for a second, right? It's a common resource. It has to be, right? Because healthcare, for example, right? Well, first of all, is it open access? Yes, right? Well, for healthcare anyway, right? In the United States, if you're a healthcare facility, by law, you have to serve anybody who walk up to your door, right? You're not allowed to reject them. So we do have by law an open access. Second, now is it a public good or is it a common resource? Just ask yourself the question, right? Is it rivalrous? Now, if a doctor is seeing you at the moment, that doctor cannot see anybody else. Therefore, it is rivalrous. Right? Therefore, it is a common resource. It can't not be considered a public good. Now, what about education? Is a free education a public good, right? So imagine education, public school, everybody have access to it, but is it a public good? Well, is it rivalrous? So to answer that question, just ask yourself this, right? Is there a difference between a classroom with 10 students versus a classroom with 100 students? If the answer is yes, if there is a difference, then it is a common resource. Right? If by you participating in the class, you are somehow diminishing the quality of the service for another person, then it is considered a common resource. Okay? Now, all right, again, calling something public good or common resource, right? We need to clearly define or be able to categorize the goods and services because we need to use different policies to regulate them, to manage them. Okay.